Welcome to Cambridge Stud, which is the most successful thoroughbred breeding farm here in New Zealand. A lot of that is to do with this fellow, Sir Tristram, who is responsible for 45 Group 1 winners and really put them on the map. At the moment, this is a very transitional period for the farm. They've got new owners and an exciting young roster of stallions. Cambridge Stud enjoys an illustrious history, dating back to 1975, when it was founded by Sir Patrick Hogan. As well as Sir Tristram, his son Zabeel, originally owned by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, stood at the stud until his death in 2015. The sire of 46 Group 1 winners so far, he's immortalised at the stud's entrance. While that's all in the past, Cambridge Stud has a very bright future, thanks to huge investment made by new owners Brendan and Jo Lindsay. It's midway through a transformation, both in terms of infrastructure and bloodstock. Let's start by talking about the stallions we've seen. Two very impressive and two very different horses, aren't they?
Yeah, so I guess they've got the proven stallion and the young pretender at the moment. So yeah, Tavistock's our flagship horse. He's been a bit of a revelation at stud so far, really. He started off at pretty modest beginnings, and he's had 4 Group 1 winners already, and because of that his mare quality's obviously picked up, and he's been very popular in the last 4 or 5 years. So he's a horse, I think, sitting kind of on about to take off in a period where his numbers and quality are going to take off. So I think you'll be hearing a lot more about him. And then Embellish is on the other end of that scale, where he's just come off the track. He was a very successful horse in New Zealand. He won the New Zealand 2000 Guineas, and he's by Zabeel, who's been the standout stallion in New Zealand for quite a long time. And probably where he's unique is he's Zabeel's only Group 1 winning son at stud. So he's I think from a domestic point of view, a great opportunity to carry that influential line into the future. And obviously that traces back to the history of Cambridge Stud with his grandsire Zabeel and great-grandsire Sir Tristram.
And just going back to Tavistock a moment, he's done particularly well overseas in Hong Kong and Singapore.
Yeah, he's made a name for himself internationally very quickly. We're an exporting market, really. We breed a lot of good horses, and our business works is we sell horses that go overseas and do well. So he's had Werther, which was a champion in Hong Kong. He's had Infantry, which won a Singapore Derby. And then you've got the likes of Tarzino, Tavigo, Volkstock and Barrel, who have all done the job in Australia. So those are our key export markets, and so that has really driven the demand for his progeny, the last 2 or 3 years.
The stud is also about to welcome champion European 3-year-old Almanzor, who was completing his quarantine at the time of our visit.
I've got a bit of a soft spot for Almanzor, to be honest. He was such a talented racehorse, and it doesn't matter where you're from, and you don't really need to know anything about him. When you see his race footage and the way that he could quicken, and he beat horses like Found and Minding, Highland Reel, the cream of the crop in Ballydoyle that year, and he ran past them quite easily, really. So he was an exceptionally good racehorse. He's by Wharton Bassett, who isn't a household name at the moment, but when you look at what he's done, again, from pretty low opportunities, he's a rising force in France, and traces back to Ifraj, who again is a connection to New Zealand through the success that he's had standing here at Haunui Farm through the years.
And Burgundy.
Yeah, so Burgundy is, again, he really hit his straps very quickly in his stallion career. With his first 3-year-olds, he had a very good filly here called Dijon Bleu, who was the NZB Filly of the Year, and another horse called Hard Merchandise, who was a Group 2 winner and subsequently sold up to Hong Kong. So he, again, from fairly humble beginnings, has done a very good job, and he's got a particularly exciting crop of 2-year-olds that will be turning 3 this spring. So I think he's another horse that, with his spring 3-year-olds, you'll probably see a lot more happening with him in the next 3 or 4 months, really.
So just looking at the roster as a whole, you've got established stallions, you've got newcomers, something for everyone.
Yeah, and we're probably a little bit unique here in that we're not really very reliant on Dane Hill. He's been such a huge influence in this part of the world, in New Zealand and Australia. And Burgundy is obviously by Reduced Choice, so we do have that box ticked, if you like, because Reduced Choice has probably been the main sire-son to carry on that line in recent times. And then the other 4 stallions are actually free of Dane Hill. So it opens up a lot of avenues, and I think going forward, that's what we'll be really hoping, is that those horses click with the Danehill that's so prevalent in the broodmare band. And as you said, whether it's the different price points or you're looking for a new horse or a proven horse like Tavistock or Burgundy, we like to think we've got something for everybody here.
And routine-wise, for the Stallions, particularly the newcomers, what's it going to look like throughout the breeding season?
So they're coming towards the end of their off-season for the horses that have stayed here. They enjoy a pretty cruisy life, really, through the off-season, a lot of time in the paddock, and then we've got a walking ring where they can be hand-walked as well for exercise, and then come the 1st of September, their lives will change a little bit, and they'll be back into breeding season. So, again, they'll be quite busy, so, really, September 1st, it'll be all go for the stallion roster.
And away from the Stallions, this is a very exciting time, isn't it, for the stud as a whole? We've seen the massive developments going on, and it must be a great time to work here.
Yeah, as you've probably seen just driving around here today, it's Brendan and Jo Lindsay took over the farm in April of last year, and it's quite staggering to think what's happened in that time. So it's I think exciting for us here at Cambridge Stud, but on broader terms for the whole New Zealand industry. You know, Cambridge Stud is a historic farm, and Sir Patrick and Lady Justine Hogan would be up with the most successful breeders anywhere in the world ever. So they've forged an amazing tradition here at the farm, but now that's going to take a step into the future, and to have Brendan and Jo, who are so enthusiastic and driven and very proud New Zealanders at the helm, I think they're going to do everything they can to drive Cambridge Stud into the future, and that should have benefits to everyone here, with the investment they've made, and not just the facilities but the bloodstock with stallions like Almanzor, and then to the broodmare band as well.